Cubaan suara.
Ya, boleh dengar.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We will allow an additional 2 minutes for the participant to join before we commence the session. Hello, Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Persatuan Pegawai Sains Malaysia Webinar Series. I am Nurul Fatihah Misnar, who will be the moderator for today's PPSM Webinar Series entitled Safe Handling of Biosafety Cabinet. It is my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker today, Mr. Selvanesan Sengol. Mr. Selvanesan is a highly experienced microbiologist with over 30 years of service in Malaysia's healthcare and laboratory system, including 22 years at the National Public Health Laboratory in Sungai Buloh. He currently serves as a science officer specializing in virology, electron microscopy, and biosafety cabinet field certifier. He holds multiple academic qualifications, including a Master of Science in Biomedical Science from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, and has completed advanced training in medical microbiology, orthopedic nursing, and biosafety cabinet certification. Mr. Selvanesan is recognized as a national expert in transmission electron microscopy with over 2 decades of experience in virus detection and outbreak investigation. He has also represented Malaysia at WHO meetings on diseases such as influenza, measles, rubella, and polio, and played a vital role during the COVID-19 pandemic as a laboratory coordinator. In addition, he serves as the chairperson of the Institutional Biosafety and Biosecurity Committee and contributes to the development of national biosafety policies and guidelines. We are honored to have him here with us today to share his insights. Before we start, a brief message for the floor. The link for attendance, feedback, and e-certificate will be shared in the chat box 30 minutes after the webinar has started. The Q&A session will be held at the end of the webinar. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat box. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Selvanesan to deliver his talk. Over to you, Mr. Selva.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fatihah, moderator for this session. Okay, as Ms. Fatihah introduced, I'm Selvanesan from NPHL. Today, I'm going to give a topic, safe handling of biosafety cabinet. Okay, many of you, I'm sure, from microbiology lab, and some of you may be very new to the laboratory setup. And day to day, you'll be handling biosafety cabinet, and not only biosafety cabinet, you also may handle other ventilation cabinets. So today, I will give introduction on ventilation cabinets and also the what you call other biosafety cabinet that's available other than class 2 cabinet. Let me share my presentation.
Hello.
Yeah, just a minute.
Uh,
Quite a big file, take some time to download. See, very noisy background. What here? It was quite heavy rain here.
dekat
Okay,
sini
can
clear.
you see the screen?
Ha,
Can see the
slide
screen, right?
nampak. Slide nampak.
Okay, I continue my presentation. It's in the full screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is my outline. First, I will talk about the ventilation equipment and their functions. More focus on biosafety cabinet compared with other ventilation equipments. And then second would be selection and application of BSC or biological safety cabinet. And the right way of handling biosafety cabinet before, during, and after using the biosafety cabinet. And finally, I'll talk a little bit on the decontamination of BSC. Okay, so we can see there in the presentation, there are a few type of ventilation equipments. So I'm sure all of you heard about the fume hood, okay, where the fume hood is used. Practically, fume hood be used for to handle the chemicals. So the fume hood mainly to protect the personnel. And then we also heard about this clean bench, or we call as a laminar flow cabinet. Okay, laminar flow cabinet look like PSC. Don't be confused between clean bench or laminar flow with biological safety cabinet. It look like same, but the function is different. Practically, clean bench or laminar flow is for clean work. Practically, if in a laboratory setup, they use for media preparation or tissue culture work in the virology, or in a, if we can see in a hospital setup, they may use in a pharmacies, which is they prepare their medicines, okay, especially the solutions. And then third is a isolator. Isolator can be either positive pressure isolator or negative pressure isolator. Isolator is look alike same with class 3 BSc cabinet, but isolator do not have HEPA filter and do not use isolator for the work of microbial work. So isolator practically can be used in the industrial site or any cancerous agents which is non-microbial, okay, not for microbial work. And finally, it's a biosafety cabinet. Biosafety cabinet can class into 3 categories, which is class 1 biosafety cabinet. We're not going to focus on class 1, and hardly we can find a class 1 cabinet nowadays. And more practically, we use this class 2 cabinet, which is there are 4 types. We follow the NSF standard, NSI, NSI standard, US standard. There are 4 types, which is type A1, A2, B1, and B2. I will elaborate in detail about this classification. And another one is class 3 cabinet, which is only can find in a biosafety level 3 or level 4. Hardly we use class 3 cabinet, or we call it as a glove box, which is hardly we can find in the biosafety level 3, which is hospital lab or that, okay, and the research lab, unless it be find in a biosafety level 3 and above. Okay, there is no class 4 cabinet, so don't look for the class 4 cabinet. Also, we have biosafety level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. There is no class 4 cabinet. The highest level is a class 3 cabinet. So bear in mind. Okay, now we go to the biosafety cabinet, which is I said just now. Okay, biosafety cabinet, there are two very important components, which is like their heart. First is HEPA filter. HEPA means high efficiency particulate air filter, or maybe alpha filter. Alpha filter is ultra low particulate air filter, which is a HEPA filter, practically can filter up to 99.97%. And alpha filter is so much better than that, which is 99.999% can filter the particulate. And second is the motor. Without these two, we don't call it as a biosafety cabinet. This is mandatory for biosafety cabinet, especially the HEPA filter. Without HEPA filter, we don't call it as a biosafety cabinet. Of course, blower is necessary to blow the air. Otherwise, you won't get the velocity. Okay, what is biosafety cabinet? Okay, to provide three types of protection. So when it comes to ventilation equipments, the main thing is protection. Okay, why we need to you need to use ventilation equipments? Because to protect, either to protect personnel, the personnel or the person that handle the work, is to protect the production or the material that we use, especially like, for example, those things or reagent, not reagent, the materials, which is like viruses or bacteria or anything that we use, like cell culture, all this we call it the material that we use or we handle. And third is the environment. So when it comes to protection, these are the three main components: personal protection, product protection, and environmental protection. Not all cabinet can cover or can protect all these three. Depend on type of cabinet. For example, like class 1 cabinet, it protect environment and protect personnel, but does not protect product. That's a class 1 cabinet. I'm not going to talk about the class 1 cabinet, just a small introduction of the class 1 cabinet. The rest is the same. When it comes to class 2 and class 3 cabinet, will protect all these three: personal protection, product protection, and environmental protection. When you talk about the laminar flow, it only protects the product, does not protect the personnel. And when it comes to fume hood, as I said just now, it will protect personnel and environment, but not protect the product. So different ventilation cabinet, they have a different functions. So remember, when it comes to biosafety cabinet, must be three: personal protection, product protection, environment protection. This is, remember, this is very important point. Whenever you handle biosafety cabinet, you must remember these three. Make sure there is no alteration on these three components. Okay. Okay, when it comes to HEPA filter, you can see the diagram here. There are two. I don't know you can see with the cursor or not. There's a two HEPA filter. Always one is a HEPA filter that is a, we call it a sample HEPA filter, which is the air that pass through the cabinet and recirculate inside the cabinet. And second one is exhaust HEPA filter. So certain amount of air need to be released to maintain the velocity. So there's a there's a two type of HEPA filter, except for class 1 cabinet. Class 1 cabinet only have exhaust HEPA filter. That's why I say just now, does not protect product. It's to protect the environment and protect the user, but does not protect the product. Okay, when it comes to class 2 cabinets, always have two HEPA filter. One is for exhaust and one for sample. Okay, and then therefore usually they have either one blower, and some cabinet with certain standards, they may have two blowers or motors. Okay, now we come to HEPA filter. As I say just now, HEPA filter, the full name is high efficiency particulate air, or if alpha filter, ultra low particulate air filter. There's two things. So of course, alpha filter is much better than HEPA filter. Okay, what is the function? It's a throwaway extended media dry type filter with rigid frame. Usually HEPA filter is a very rigid frame, the thickness almost 2 inches, and it will filter 99.97% for 0.3 micrometer particle size. Why 0.3 micrometer? Because this size of particle, the one is very hardy or very easy to penetrate. The particulate, the higher, bigger or smaller, can be filtered easily, but 0.3 micrometer particle is the most difficult to be filtered. That's why they put as a 0.3 micrometer. Okay, and then they have a most penetrating particle size, or MPPS, we call as a most particular size. Okay, there are three ways. I will explain later how the filtration is occurred. Okay, this is how the design of HEPA filter is. It's not one single like a paper sheet. It's like a zinc, the rooftop zinc. How it's look like? The same thing. The arrangement is like that. So there are three way of filtration for large particles by impact interception. Okay, and those for the small particles through the diffusion. There are three: intercept, impact, and diffusion. If you can see the diagram, it's clearly show how the intercept is. Intercept is passed through, try to pass through, and then finally it would be trapped. Impact is direct impact to the microfilaments or microfibers, and then diffusion is try to weigh where there's a penetration. Finally, will be trapped also. Okay, remember, HEPA filter do not filter gases. Okay, I'm sure in many cases, people wear HEPA filter for chemical fume call disaster or any leakage. So that's very wrong. HEPA filter does not filter gases and vapor. It's only for particulate. Okay, for example, during the haze, you wear HEPA filter. Okay, during the haze, I'm sure a few years back, we've experienced a very bad haze in the country. So you can wear HEPA filter, but it does not filter the gas. Gas still go through, but it will filter the particle. Okay, sometimes the dust that contained in the haze, the what you call the carbons, that will filter the particulate, and not the vapor or the gas. Remember this. So that's why when there is a chemical exposure, HEPA filter is not the solution. You must go for the chemical filters. So remember this. Very important. Okay. I already explained about this. Always HEPA filter, they have a thick frame, aluminum frame usually, and then they have the separators, and then they have a filter in between. And usually this set will come as one set. It's not that they can cut and fix. They come with one set, and when they fix in the biosafety cabinet, they need to put silicone surround the cabinet, surround the HEPA filter. That's very important to prevent any leakage. Okay, next is a blower. I'm not going to talk much about the blower. This is more to the engineers. It's not for the scientists. So practically, we need a blower, but most important is the speed of the blower or the velocity that can compensate the pressure and the flow. That's very important. So not much about the blower. So this will be taken care by the engineers. Okay, next. We go to class 2 cabinet. Okay. If you see National Safety Federation, US, they have, as mentioned there, the ventilation cabinet for personal product environmental protection, as I said just now. And we see the flow in the next diagram. Okay. Class 2 cabinet, there, as I said just now, there's a 4 type. Type A1, type A2, type B1 and type B2. Okay, when it comes to type A1, okay, nowadays also you can hardly find type A1, practically type A2. And if you intend to buy any biosafety cabinet, your answer must be A2, B1, or B2, depend on the type of work that you're going to do. Okay, don't buy type A1 anymore. So because the velocity is less 75 foot per minute, so it's not recommend to buy type A1, and hardly you can find in the market. But the rest is almost same. The exhaust percentage, the recirculate air percentage, all velocities all same. Only the inflow velocity is 75 foot per minute compared with the type A2 100 foot per minute. Okay. And remember, type A1 cabinet are not suitable for work with volatile toxic chemical and volatile radionuclides. I will explain further in type A2 and type B1 and B2 about this use of chemical in biosafety cabinet. Okay, now we go to type A2. As I said just now, the extra exhaust approximately 70% and the recirculate is 70%. How the 70% and 30% comes in? Okay, when you on the cabinet, later I will explain how long you have to wait before you can use the cabinet, turn on and use the cabinet. Okay, that's why the 70-30% is very important. When you turn on the cabinet, it needs some time for the air to stabilize. Okay, what happened? We have in front of the session, there's a small opening there, the place that you put your hand and do work. Okay, that's we call it a front opening. And then we have an exhaust practically on top of the cabinet, and some standard, like Australian standard, they have a exhaust at the side of the cabinet. Okay, practically I will say around 90% of the cabinet, the opening or the exhaust airflow is on the top of the cabinet. Okay, practically like this. When you on the cabinet, air 100% go through the front opening. Okay, the place that you work. Once you go to the cabinet, it will pass through. Since the blower will be on immediately, the air will pass through from front cabinet, front grill, and always there is another grill behind of the cabinet. I mean, at the end of the workplace, always the front where the place that we put our hand, and another grill is at the end of the working area. Okay, that means air will pass through that and go through the blower, and then 30% of the air will be blown out of the cabinet through the exhaust HEPA filter, and 70% will pass through the bigger HEPA filter back inside the cabinet. This is very important. 70% will come back to the cabinet, and this 70% will divide into two. 35% will go to the front grill, and 35% will go to the back grill. So now we only have 70%. So we need another 30% to compensate or to make it 100%, right? And then the following, the 30% of the air will flow through the front opening, make it 100%. Go back up to the blower, 100%, divide, 30% will release to the environment, 70% will recirculate. That's how the cabinet works. That's why it's very important, the front opening, the grill, you should not cover it or block it. It will do it. What will happen? It will disturb the airflow, the velocity of the air. So that's one. Second, the air that 70% that pass through the cabinet will divide 35 and 35 so that does not recirculate or cause any turbulence in the cabinet. So it will smoothly pass through. If you go and block that front grill with your hand or with your paper, whatever, what happens? The percentage of air flow through the behind grill is higher, and this may cause turbulence. Okay, air turbulence, or air will be cross your sample, and it may cause sample or product contamination. So that's very important. Don't try to block the grill, either front or back grill. This can cause product contamination. Or if the flow can't be flowed through inside back the cabinet. It may flow out and may be contaminated or may release the contaminated air may release to the person that handle the cabinet. That's very important. Okay, I hope you all understand what I'm trying to explain. If you have any doubt, you can ask question through the chat box and we will discuss at the end of the presentation. Okay. Okay, usually they have a contaminated duct planner, which is at the back, which is can see the negative, negative, negative. All these are negative pressure, so that when the pass through the blower, it become positive pressure. Okay, for class 2 cabinet, if you want to handle any toxic chemical, vapor, or air, or any radionuclides in a minute level only, you cannot use in a high quantity, minute level, which is maybe you introduce a little bit to what you call to kill the or inactivate the your product or your germs or bacteria or viruses. You can, with condition, you have to put ducting. Okay, how the ducting will be. Okay, this is another important. So that's why when you purchase a cabinet, the ducting is important because the ducting need to be connected to the higher level of your building. It's not to the side of the building. It should go at a higher level of your building. So need to do ducting, and only canopy type ducting or timber type ducting is permitted. Not hard ducting, which is just can seal it all together at the exhaust. So you have to put a canopy type as shown in the picture. So there is a gap in between cabinet and the room, so that the airflow from the room also pass through the cabinet, and then from the exhaust HEPA filter also pass through the cabinet to the canopy. This is very important, so that it causes negative pressure on top and will go higher above the building, and it must be more than 10 feet above the adjacent tallest building. That's very important. Otherwise, it may the air may or the chemical may contaminate the adjacent building at the side. So that's why it must be always a highest level. The building must be at the highest level. If the building is not at the highest level, so the ducting must be go above the building at least 10 feet with the other tallest building, adjacent tallest building, and not 100 meter or 200 meter away. The side buildings are in the same compound practically. Okay. Okay, now we go to class 2 cabinet. Okay, class 2 cabinet can always be a ducting. Class A cabinet come with non-ducting, A1 and A2. When come to class 2 cabinet, always come with ducting. That's why class 2 cabinet is designed to work with minute level of chemicals or radionuclides. Remember, depends on your type of work. If you use any vapor or any toxic chemicals, but your major work must be microbiology, not chemical work. And don't use to mix chemical all in biosafety cabinet. That's very, very wrong. You only use biosafety cabinet for microbiological work, but you have no choice. You have to use certain amount of chemicals inside to inactivate or any other activity, which is I mentioned earlier. Yes, you can use, but your choice is class B, either B1 or B2. Now we see what is a B1, B2. The velocity air intake is still the same, 100 foot per minute. And then if you can see class 2 B cabinet, they have a no internal blower or exhaust. The exhaust have added ducting up there, and then must went outside through the hard ducting. No canopy ducting for the class 2B cabinet. Okay, always be hard ducting. You can see the diagram here is a very hard ducting, so that it will no room air will pass through the canopy. How the ducting, so must be only from the cabinet pass through. And then we have a class B1 and B2. If we come to B1, just now I said 30% will exhaust for class A, 30% exhaust and 70% recirculate, right? For type B1, 30% recirculate and 70% exhaust. That's a difference. Okay, 30% recirculate and 70% exhaust. So most of the chemical will be exhaust out. Okay, why we only can use minute level of chemicals? What happen if you use a big amount? Okay, the danger is it may destroy the HEPA filter. Once HEPA filter been destroyed, and then no point you using that biosafety cabinet. So it will contaminate everything. That means it will contaminate, especially when there is a leakage in the HEPA filter, it will contaminate environment, contaminate personnel, and contaminate your product. So that's why it's very important. So do not use huge amount of chemical in biosafety cabinet. Is very dangerous. Okay, usually when come to class B cabinet, always have an alarm system and the exhaust. When the volume drop by 20%, usually the alarm will trigger. This is a new cabinet. Huh? I do not know how about the old cabinet. So this is a new cabinet. Usually they have an alarm system. Okay, as I said just now, we can use a minute level of radionuclide in the class B1 cabinet. If you use slightly higher chemical or amount of chemical, your choice is a class B2, which is 100% exhaust out. The air that enter, usually the supply air through the 70% through the top of the cabinet and 30% from the front opening, and all air will be exhaust out to the through the ducting. And they also have a ducting. As I said just now, class 2 cabinet must have ducting. Hard ducting, not canopy type. Class A canopy. I repeatedly telling this so that you all be very fully understand what type of ducting to put if you intend to use chemicals. Minute level of chemical. Minute level, just always remember minute level. You may ask, minute means how much? Okay, first thing you must remember, your main intention is biological work. Okay, that means it's not chemical work. So that means the chemical amount that used must be much lesser. The intention is either to inactivate or other purpose which is mandatory to be used. One. Second, that chemical does not destroy your HEPA filter or your blower or cabinet, which is can cause corrosive or that. Then you can use. Remember this. Okay. Then must be hard ducting. As I said, same thing when come to hard ducting or any ducting must be above 10 feet from the adjacent tallest building. Okay. Go to next because I try to go fast on this chapter. Later I will talk about the safe handling. That's most important. Okay, this I think already explained, which is the negative pressure at the plenum, which is I think it's not necessary to go detail on it. Okay, this is how to select your cabinet, biosafety cabinet. Okay, now biosafety level 1 to 3. Okay, it gives personal protection, environmental protection, but no product protection. As I say, why no product protection? Because there is no sample of recirculate HEPA filter, only exhaust HEPA filter. So, and it's the type class 1. Okay, type class 1. So, which is hardly you can find nowadays. Okay, second, for BSL 1 to 3, you also can use and mainly use class 2 cabinet, either A1, A2, B1, B2, and they give all these 3 protections. And BSL 4 practically, so you use class 3 cabinet. In fact, in BSL 4, you also can use class 2 cabinet, not say cannot, you can use class 2 cabinet, but you must use the suit, the ventilation suit. So without ventilation suit, you only can use class 3 cabinet. Okay, remember, so not say that class 2 cabinet cannot be used in BSL level 4, which is our country don't have. So you can see, you can find this in CDC China, CDC Atlanta, and in fact CDC Australia, they have class 4, BSL 4. So they have class 2 cabinet, but you must use the suit like astronaut suit, the ventilation suit. You must wear that. Without that, you only can handle in class 3 cabinet. So remember this. Okay, next. Okay, this is a summary for what I've explained just now. I think we have only around 20 minutes, so I'd like to skip this. It's already explained. Okay, now we go to the selection of BSc. First, we must know the purpose. Okay, either personal, product, or environmental protection, or all the three. If all the three, your choice must be either class 2 or class 3. If you only want personal and environmental protection, you can go for class 1. Okay, and then what kind of work will be done in the BSc? You must see either biological or chemical at least. If only biological, and then you can use class 2 type A1, A2. If you have if you have a chemical, you've done a chemical research assessment, you find that you need to do certain amount, use some certain amount of chemical, then you go for type A2 with canopy ducting or type B1 or B2. Okay, and then any chemical use, you must see what the volume you use, how frequent you use the chemical, and then environment. Okay, space requirement, interference, connection, building system, all these are very important. And then exhaust system, room supply air is very important. When you set up the cabinet, you must see the room exhaust system and then room supply system, air conditioning system, sir. Okay, this I already explained earlier also. I think I have to skip this. Okay, area preparation. When it comes to area preparation, make sure, please go and check your BSc after this lecture. Okay, is it installed away from window, air condition out or inlet? Okay, your the what you call the diffusers, and then air inlet or ventilation equipment, other ventilation equipment beside. All these are important. Okay, then the BSc shall install top away from ceiling at least 30 cm. Okay, now this building's okay, not so bad, quite tall. But if you have a very old building, the ceiling level must be at least at 1 foot, okay, above the cabinet. Okay, this is to allow the service engineer to service your cabinet. Okay, you need to climb up and do some measurement during the certification process. And then back away from the wall is at least 15 centimeter or 6 inches from the wall or from the cabinet to cabinet. Okay, those is 6 inches. And then from side to side, and then the behind. Okay, the back and the side must be 15 cm or 6 inches. So this is very important. Please go and check. Sometimes your cabinet will be attached to the wall, behind. So if attached to the wall, please bring forward. But when you bring forward, make sure after that you need to do certification. So don't do it immediately. Wait for the certification. During the certification, just before the certification, you bring forward a bit and then you do the certification. Because whenever you move the cabinet, you need to do recertification. This is very important. Okay, this is one example which is wrongly installed. You see both cabinet is attached together. At least you must give 15 cm or 6 inches between cabinets so that there is no interruption for the airflow, especially the inlet airflow. So this is very wrong setup. So if you find cabinet like this, you have to move a bit the cabinet so that at least 15 centimeters in between. Okay. Okay, when BSc require connection to the building exhaust system or not separated in the room must be met. The criteria as follow. Okay, first, class 2 cabinet type A with the canopy connection. I already explained earlier. So like type A2 need 100 CFM. Then the type B1, 50 to 100, practically is 100. And B2 is 175. Okay, but 100 is very important. So the room at least must have a 100 and above. Okay, next. Okay, can we buy cheap local biosafety? Why not? Can, but you must see the design, the material quality, performance test, maintenance, standard of production, and lifetime and durability. First thing you must see is the standard that they use. Okay, they have the standard or not. If don't have a standard, So we worry that this cabinet may not give a protection all these three: personal, product, and environment. That's why what standard they follow, very important. If the best is NSF standard, if not as an NSF standard, also go for the EN standard, European standard. These are the two best standard. So far, no Asian standard or Malaysian standard. So next is we have Japanese standard, China standard, and Australia standard, and France standard. I feel that this standard is all not as high level as NSF standard. Okay, try to go for the NSF standard, but it's very expensive. Otherwise, go for the EN standard. EN standard is slightly cheaper. Okay, lifetime of BSc. How long can BSc can last? Even I seen 40 years, 50 years BSc, it's okay. It's not that you need to change your BSc every 15 years or 10 years, not necessary. But according to NSF, the 15 years, but they accept. Even first model 1970 is still working well. Okay, the most important is the HEPA filter. As long as you have HEPA filter and your motor is working, or it can be changed or can be replaced, and the cabinet is working well, fine. There's no leakage. Okay, HEPA filter is not necessary for you to change every year or every 2 years, or every 5 years. HEPA filter, as long there's no leak and it still can give the flow as recommended, HEPA filter can use for 100 years also, no issue. As long as it's work well. But most of the time, depend on your lab condition. If your lab is very dusty, then HEPA filter clog fast. Otherwise, no issue. Okay, and then when you want to decommission or you want to BR your BSc, when the performance drop. Okay, and then no availability of the parts. Maybe you cannot find the parts. You have to modify. It's not recommended. So try to get the original part. And then another one is energy efficiency. Nowadays, you can see that energy efficiency is most important. So that old cabinet usually consume high current. So latest cabinet maybe use a DC motor, less current. You can save money for the long run. Then it's worth to change. Otherwise, maybe not necessary. And then we see the some wrong installation of cabinet. Okay, type 2 cabinet is very close each other. You can see the front there, very narrow, which is not recommended. Practically, we need at least 1 meter from the cabinet. In front must be free, 1 meter. And nobody can pass through within that 1 meter range. So this will interrupt the airflow. Okay, this is important message I want to tell here. Another one, you see the ceiling is so low, which is nowadays you hardly can see, but this is very important also for the exhaust and for the maintenance purposes. Okay, is it necessary to wear like this on the cabinet? No. Okay, what is most important when you work on the cabinet is, one is a glove, second is your gown. In fact, mask may not necessary, depend on the type of work that you do. So if you work in the cabinet and your risk is low, mask may not necessary. So it's good to wear mask, but it's not really necessary. But your glove, preferably double glove, and your apron or your protection. Okay, that's important. Okay, others is not necessary unless you go do in level 2 with the level 3 procedures. Then that different issue. Okay, now we go to preparing work in BSc. Plan ahead, consult Biosafety. I'm sure nobody will consult your Biosafety cabinet, especially we are using Biosafety cabinet every day. At least your Biosafety officer must aware that you are using Biosafety cabinet. Okay, and then schedule Biosafety cabinet, prevent air disruptors such as people walking through, as I say just now, at least 1 meter away. Okay, and aircon inlet, all that from the cabinet. Okay, and then know your emergency spill protocols. This is very important. There are 2 spill protocol. One is general spill protocol. Another one is a spill protocol inside BSc. Okay, the procedure is slightly different inside BSc and in the general in the lab. So you must know, and you must have emergency spill protocol for spillage inside the cabinet. Okay, then check your cabinet certification. Why? Okay, always when they do yearly certification, certifications must be done yearly, yearly, and every time they do the certification, so they will paste their certificate or the report at the cabinet. Look at that certification and make sure it's valid. If it's overdue, please do not use your cabinet and ask for recertification, because if anything goes wrong, it will harm you, harm your product, and harm environment. Okay, this is very important. And then close drain wall. Some cabinet, they have drain wall like a water tap. You can see some cabinet, they have water tap at the side there. So make sure it's closed, because in case of any spillage to the drain pan, so that does not flow down. So, and this drain wall is only used during decontamination or any spillage. So we want to clean, we want to throw, disinfect inside, and then later we want to drain, we use a drain wall. Otherwise, the drain wall will be always in close position. And then practicing ergonomic, this is very important. I understand cabinet is slightly high. Choose your right lap stool. So make sure, because sometimes you're sitting for hours in front of cabinet, so your ergonomic is very important. And then wear proper personal protection equipment, as I said just now, your gown and your glove mandatory. Okay, and then another one is glove prevent particle shedding from hand product protection. And then turning on the cabinet, you turn on the cabinet, check for alarm, and then check airflow directions. Okay, check magnetic gauge. Some cabinet come with the magnetic gauge, some they come with the digital. Make sure it reach the standard. And most of the new cabinet nowadays, they have alarm, and then they'll start with the alarm until the alarm stop, and then with the digital, sometimes say the cabinet is safe to use, then okay, you can use the cabinet. And then allow the airflow to establish. Usually take 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, don't on the cabinet and straight away use your cabinet. You must allow the cabinet to be turned on and for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And then you must disinfect your cabinet with at least 70% alcohol. You don't have to use detergents for the starting of your work. You just need to use 70% alcohol. Why? Why you need to use, don't have to use detergent? Because you're going to use detergent at the end of the work. Okay, end of the day, you're going to use a detergent so that the next day morning, you just clean the dust and clean, and maybe there's some any microbial particles, just clean up with alcohol just enough, and then you can set up your work. Okay. Okay, before you bring in anything inside your cabinet, make sure you disinfect first before go into the cabinet. Okay, including your pipetter, your pipettic boxes, anything, or you want to use any equipment, must do surface decontamination with a 70% alcohol. Then only you put inside the cabinet. Include your pipette aid, anything that you want to put inside the cabinet. Please disinfect with 70% alcohol, or you want to use a detergent. It's up to you. So practically 70% alcohol is sufficient enough. And then clean stuff on one side. Okay, then you must arrange all the clean stuffs or materials to be at one side. Can be either on your right hand side or your left hand side, depend on your way that you work. Some are right handler, some is a left handler, depend on the work, but don't mix up. And then always the middle for your work area. So your dirty stuff one side, your clean stuff one side. Must be don't mix up clean and dirty at one side. So I hope you understand. The center of the cabinet must be for work area. Can be your right hand, can be clean or dirty, either one. And your left hand, same thing, either clean or, if your left hand is dirty, right hand is clean. If your right hand is dirty, the left hand is clean. Okay. And put large item such as centrifuge on the back. But remember, actually it's not recommended to put centrifuge or any vibrating equipment inside VSC. Okay, try to avoid as much as can, but you have no choice, then okay, but the usage must be minimum, because this vibrating equipment can bring harm to the HEPA filter. Because as I say just now, HEPA filter will be sealed with the silicones. Okay, this silicone may crack after some times. So once the silicone crack, that means the efficiency of the HEPA filter is gone. So it will air start leaking through the silicone paste. So try to avoid. Okay, nowadays we can see centrifuge have a what you call a biological hazard rotors. So try to get that kind of centrifuge. That means you can centrifuge outside and bring the whole rotor inside the cabinet and can open up inside the cabinet. That's the best choice. Try not to use centrifuge inside the cabinet. Okay, and nothing should block the grill as I explained earlier. So the block grill can cause air turbulence and can cause air pass through your cabinet, contaminate your product, and air can penetrate out, contaminate your personal, or it mean will infect yourself. Okay, that's very important. And then check view screen height. The size must be at the level that recommended by the manufacturer. Nowadays, they have alarm. If high or low, they give alarm. Don't go and open higher or don't go low because this will affect the velocity of the airflow, either inflow or downflow. It will affect so that your cabinet do not give the right performance. So the screen height, the glass height must be at the set level. Shouldn't be higher, even a 1 or 2 mm. Must be at set level. So that's very important. Some cabinet no alarm, you like to put higher a bit so that easy for you to work. No, never do that. So now new cabinet, they have the alarm. So the moment you raise a bit, will alarm, or you bring down a bit, alarm. Some cabinet you raise alarm, you bring down no alarm. So usually you can see at the end of the side there, there's a mark. So make sure at that level. That's another important point when you handle cabinet. Okay, and then working area, split working area, smooth and flow, and then dispose all waste inside the cabinet, even glove. Okay, if you ask me, I will say whatever waste that come out inside the cabinet is considered is a biological waste, including your serological pipette, the cover, the plastic, all through as a biological waste and through inside the cabinet. Don't ever bring out any waste out of the cabinet because although that is a domestic waste, because not contaminated, but once you handle inside the cabinet, consider it's a biological waste and you have a waste, small waste container, throw inside the cabinet. Okay, that's important. So that means you only have 2 or 3 type of waste inside the cabinet. One is a biological waste, solid biological waste. Another one is a liquid waste. And third one is a sharp bin if you handle sharp. No general waste inside your cabinet. Remember this. Okay, do not use any general waste inside the cabinet. All are considered as a biological waste. Don't worry about this costing. So consider as a biological waste. Okay, and then as I say, I repeating say, do not block the grill, and then prevent sideway movement. Your hands. So when you work in the cabinet, your hands must go through straight like a robot. Okay, go straight in and straight out. Okay, don't slide to the side. That's very important because when you do that, when the hand you turn and your hand and bring up to the side way, what will happen? You'll carry the air out, the contaminated air out, which is dangerous. So that's why always straight go in like a robot, take out hand, same. Once the hand is inside, let it be inside the cabinet. Don't take it out unnecessarily. And then do not use open flame. Okay, in the cabinet. The Biosafety cabinet is not designed to use open flame, but if you have no choice, if you have no choice, need to burn your loops or anything, so try to use the intermittent flame, which is a fireboy or any other furnace, which is not on all the time because the hot air produced by the flame can cause air turbulence and it will contaminate your product. That's very important. And then always use practice good aseptic techniques. Okay, this say just now how you arrange your cabinet, clean one side, and then work area at the center and dirty as one side. So do not block the grill. So that's very important. Okay, this is an example of a very bad practice. You see, they put everything inside, many cell culture flasks inside. It's not recommended. Only use the necessary amount of materials inside the cabinet. So do not practice many things inside. Your cabinet is not a place to store things. So you must use a minimum for that work only. That's very important. Okay. No eating, as I know, no eating, drinking, smoking, wearing contact lens. Okay, why you know contact lens? So, and makeup, of course, sometimes contact lens can cause, if there is any contamination, may destroy your eye. But nowadays, I know many wear contact lens, maybe not a big issue. And then you must have a spill protocol, and then clean drain pan if there is a large spill. So you may need to pour some disinfectant in your drain pan, and then that's why the drain valve is there. If no drain valve, and then you have to remove again all the spill, I mean the detergents. Okay, when alarm malfunction happen, cover everything, remove glove and contact safety officer immediately or the engineer. So when alarm is on or any malfunction happen, do not use or continue your work. You must stop immediately. Okay, and then let the service guy to come and have a look, okay, to rectify the issue before you can continue your work. Okay, after use, this is very important. Okay, seal all your containers and place non-sharp item in biohazard bag. Remove and discard waste bag after through disinfectant and appropriate disinfectant. Okay, remember, whenever you remove anything from the cabinet, you must do a surface disinfection. Okay, that means decontaminate first, then only remove out of the cabinet. Everything, every single thing, including your pipettes, your media bottles, whatever. So when you remove from the cabinet, you must disinfect first, the surface disinfection. Then only take it out. Okay, and then another thing, do not keep anything inside the cabinet. Don't make cabinet as a storage. At the end of the work, the cabinet must be empty. Okay, why? Because you need to decon your cabinet or do surface decontamination cabinet, and then you let the cabinet airflow to run for at least 10 minutes. You have to push the cabinet with at least for 10 minutes so that the air will become stabilized again. Okay. Okay. If you use the detergents, especially sodium hypochlorite, okay, which is very corrosive, okay, it's advised to use detergents after you use the cabinet. If you use detergents, or if your work is very light work, no very highly infectious material, okay, you can use 70% alcohol is enough. But if you use, for example, use TB or you do a virus work or you do a very infectious bacterial work, then you need to disinfect with the chemicals. Okay, after you use the detergents, please you wipe the detergent. The area that you need to wipe is your surface, two side, your behind until you can reach, and your inner layer of your front sash or the glass. That's important. That means there's a five surfaces, which is your work area, the floor, two sides, the behind wall, and then your inner part of your sash, outer not necessarily inner part. So clean that. After that, after you clean with your detergent, contact time is important. So to wait for some time for the absorption of the chemicals, and then please clean back at least twice with distilled water. This to remove all the residues, the chemicals. This to prevent your cabinet for corrosion. This is very important. Otherwise, your cabinet after sometimes maybe after 1-2 years it become brownish in color. So try to clean with water at least twice, and then wipe with the water. Then you clean with 70% alcohol to remove the water residue. This will keep your cabinet always look like new. Okay, and then you can turn off the blower, and if you want, you can on your UV And when you turn on your UV, so you need to close the sash. That's important. Okay, after use, then you can remove a glove, dispose by hazard bag, and then wash hand through a remove glove. And this is, I think, this is very basic things that you all practice every day. Okay, UV light. Okay, UV light. Be careful with the using of UV light. Don't depend on UV light alone. Your surface decontamination is a must. UV light is additional because why? UV light may not disinfect, especially when the UV light is after some time, the frequency is proper. So it may not. Another one, if there is any single dust inside there, your UV light does not penetrate that dust. Okay, that's very important. And then another one is harmful to your skin and eyes, so that when the UV light is on, try to leave the lab, not in the lab, not in front of the cabinet. Okay, okay, where you only use when it's unoccupied. And then remember, close window when turn off the UV light, and motor blower must be turned off. Now this cabinet is auto. The moment you on the UV light, the motor will turn off. Okay, surface decontamination. I talk a little bit on surface decontamination. Okay, normally from use from low to intermediate level disinfectant apply on the work surface. Okay, when to use before and after work in BSc finish. Okay, as I this all I already explained earlier. And then before performing certification. Okay, this is very important. Certification is done by the third party. He doesn't know, or he or she doesn't know what work you have done in the cabinet. So when before you hand over the cabinet to the third party, make sure the cabinet is safe, because you will go inside the cabinet do the measurement. So not like us, we only sitting outside the cabinet. He may put the head inside the cabinet and do some work. So that's why need to make sure the cabinet is perfectly clean from any contamination. Okay, and then before and after decontamination of BSc. Okay, for certification, practically what they practice in our country, Malaysia, they usually do fumigation, which is actually is not necessary unless they open up the blower or a pop filter. They need to do fumigation. So otherwise not necessary. Surface decontamination is fine. But if they want to practice, it's okay, no problem, because no harm to do fumigation. But if you ask me, and if the standard says it's not necessary to do fumigation, okay, if they want to do, it's fine. Okay. I have 2 slides to go. It's already 4 o'clock. Okay. And then decontamination of BSc at high level of penetration. Okay. When we need to do a fumigation, clean up contamination event, maintenance, other need access, contamination plenum, prior to moving the BSc. Okay. This is I say just now. Whenever you move the BSc, you need to do recertification. Or during they want HEPA filter have a leakage, they need to change HEPA filter, or they need to what you call do some paste on the HEPA filter, then they need to do fumigation. Okay, and then end of work program, or you are going to after, especially like BSL 3. So we start certain program, end of the program we do the fumigation, so that make sure for the next cost of work we don't contaminate from the previous program. Okay, this is a type of disinfect that you can use, either it be phenolic compound, so Tecrol, phenol, Environ, Lysol, all these, this is just additional knowledge I give you. And that's a low level, and then intermediate level is ethanol. Ethanol actually is an intermediate level, isopropanol, hypochlorides, all that. And a high level is usually a aldehyde group, either formaldehyde. Nowadays they don't use formaldehyde and ultraldehyde. Nowadays they mostly use oxidizing agent, which is hydrogen peroxide and mercon. This one usually they use for fumigation. Okay. Selection criteria for disinfection depends type of contamination of microorganism, degree of contamination depend on what work we do, then amount of proteinous material presented depends. Some are very hardy like bacteria, TB, for example. So it's very hardy bacteria. Then you have to decide. And then not only that, we see chemical nature, disinfectant, concentration, quantity of disinfection, contact time is very important, and temperature also. Okay, and then the residual activity, pH, and toxicity, and finally is of course very important. Okay, when it comes to surface contamination, general procedure, leave the cabinet running at least for 5 minutes and purge all air and then air. Then wipe down the surface with air. Do not avoid to use spray. Spray is not really recommended. What you can do is you can spray on your towel or the tissue and then you wipe it. That's the best way. Do not spray as shown in the picture directly to the cabinet because you may splash. So try to avoid that. You try to use a wipe. Spray, if you have a sprayer, spray on your tissue or the towel and then you wipe on the cabinet. That's the best. Then finally you can off and turn off the cabinet. Okay, I think already 4 o'clock. I got a few slides. I just go through the important slides on here. Sophisticated contamination is done. Okay. UV lamp I already explained earlier. The disadvantage of UV lamp. Okay, open flame. This also already explained earlier. Open flame. Sometime try to use this gas trophy or fireboy. Do not use Bunsen burner. As I said just now, Bunsen burner, which is turned on all the time, will cause air turbulence. When air turbulence happen, it will bring the cold air, the hot air up, and then will cause turbulence, and this turbulence can contaminate your product, especially. So try to avoid. Not to avoid, is try not to use at all Bunsen burner. If you want to use a gas trophy. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you. Any question? Back to Fatiha. Okay, Fatiha, to you. Any questions?
Thank you very much for an interesting talk. If anyone has any question, I'm sure Mr. Selva will be pleased to answer them. There's a couple of questions at the chat box, and the first question is, how HEPA filter kill the bacteria when bacteria stick to HEPA filter?
Okay, for this, HEPA filter's function is not to kill the bacteria or viruses, just to trap the bacteria and viruses. Many people have misunderstood that, thinking that HEPA filter will destroy the bacteria. The bacteria or viruses decay by nature. Okay, decay by nature. HEPA filter doesn't help for anything to kill or inactivate this microorganism. Okay, that's why HEPA filter, whenever you remove the plenum or you need to do any modification on HEPA filter, you need to do fumigation. Okay, HEPA filter does not kill, it's just to hold the bacteria there. And when you do the fumigation during the certification or during the service maintenance, then it will be killed. So it's important. So don't go and touch your HEPA filter. So it's not clean. HEPA filter is the most dirty, full with bacteria. And bacteria will decay or virus will decay by nature as exposure to the environment. That's all. Okay. Next question.
For the second question, is it compulsory for the BSc to have ducts? If the lab have limited space and only can use or install ductless BSc, is it still okay to use?
Okay. This is a fundamental principle when you use class 2 cabinet. Class 2 cabinet, the ducting or not ducting is not based on the lab setup. It depends on the nature of work that you do. Okay, if you do for microbiology alone, class type A2 is sufficient and more than sufficient, and it is a ductless. Okay, all class 2 type A2 cabinet come without ducting. Okay, no ducting at all, and not mandatory to put ducting. You have an option to put ducting if you handle radionuclides of chemicals, which is vapor chemicals, which is you feel that this chemical is vapor, harm to you, harm to environment, then you put canopy ducting. Otherwise, no ducting. Okay, you can use safely biological work with the non-duct cabinet because they have two HEPA filters. One is cabinet HEPA filter, which is for the sample protection or the product protection. Another one, before the air to be released outside, there is another HEPA filter. So the air is totally safe. You can go and stand above the cabinet, you can breathe fresh air. Actually, it's a very clean as long as the cabinet is not leak. Actually, it's cleaner air from HEPA filter. You don't have to worry about any contamination or any cross contamination from the non-ducting cabinet. Non-ducting cabinet is absolutely safe. Okay, it's only need ducting because it does not filter gas, right? So that's why if you use gas or chemicals, you arm for the chemical, not from the microbes. You only arm from the chemicals. Okay, I hope this is very clear. Next.
And next question, any special tips of using BSC with sporulating fungi? Will the spore clog the HEPA filter?
Okay, doesn't matter. It's either use bacteria, virus, or fungi. Okay, you can use same biosafety cabinet, no issue. Okay, what happened when you use fungi? Yeah? So the spore may clot, yes, but you must remember the more the clot the cabinet, the more safer the cabinet. Okay, when the thing clot the HEPA filter, the HEPA filter efficiency actually increase, not reduce, increase. But only thing, make sure the velocity, airflow is maintained. So it will reduce. Definitely it will reduce. That's why we need to do yearly maintenance. When come to yearly maintenance certification, they see the velocity, inflow, is it reach 100 FPM or not? If not reach 100 FPM, they have to adjust the blower speed, increase the blower speed, or they may reduce the damper so that the exhaust air will be slightly reduced so that they increase the internal flow. This is the adjustment they need to do. That's why we need a certification, not just a calibration. We need a certification. So they will do until they cannot compensate at all. Okay, the spore is full, or not even full. The dust is enough. If the lab is very dusty, especially those labs near the highways, it's a very dusty, so you can't avoid. So and sometimes your aircon air is very dusty. So in that's the case, if the HEPA filter cannot compensate at all, then need to change the HEPA filter. Or if your blower cannot compensate, then you need to change the blower. So don't worry about this spore accumulating in the HEPA filter. That's no issue at all. Okay, next.
What disinfectant to use for mycobacteria level or virus?
Okay, there's a list of disinfectant as recommended. I don't have here in another lecture actually. So for depends, you can go through the recommended disinfectant. This is for, I understand it's for surface decontamination. The list I showed just now, the surface decontamination list, you can use practically Virkon is very effective for most of the viruses. For bacteria, Virkon is effective also. Most of the bacteria, and also the sodium hypochlorite, 5 or 10% sodium, practically effective for most of the microorganisms. But the most important is contact time. Contact time is important. Depends how long you need to soak or how long you need to expose to that particular chemical or detergent. That's important. Okay, next.
Is it harmful for staff to stay in the lab while UV is on?
Okay, UV. Now, if you see the new cabinet, the UV facing front of the cabinet. So they mean it's facing towards the cabinet. If that is a setup, then fine, you can be in the lab. And another thing, you must close the shutters. As I say just now, the UV does not penetrate even a particle or the dust. So the glass actually is as a barrier. So the moment the glass is there, is closed, the UV does not penetrate it. It will block. In fact, a sheet of paper will block the UV. Okay, you don't have to worry about staying in the lab, but try not to stay. But if no choice, it's okay, fine. You can stay in the lab. But what nowadays cabinets, latest cabinet, they come with the timer. The UV will on for 15 minutes and turn off by itself. So that's why usually what you can do before you leave the lab, you just turn on the cabinet and then it will go off by itself. No need on the whole day. In fact, it's not mandatory to turn on the UV. If you do, the surface decontamination is fine enough. You no need on the UV at all. Like my lab, we hardly turn on the UV because we know UV does not guarantee that the microbe will kill, because small amount or certain amount of dust can prevent it. Okay, next.
You can please share the slides.
Oh,
Okay, can we use bleach for decontamination like Clorox 10%? I think
yeah,
you
sorry,
have
I
mentioned
forgot. I
it
already
before.
explained earlier. Sorry, I
Yes.
forgot first can.
Okay, can burner used under PSC, it will shorten the lifespan for the HEPA filter.
Okay, depends. Usually it won't shorten the life of HEPA filter, but it's cause turbulence. Okay, but the heat, if you full blown fire, may crack the silicon surrounding the HEPA filter, because the temperature may crack the silicon and you reduce efficiency. But of course, you won't the fire is not that big until can burn the HEPA filter or can be destroy the HEPA filter, but the silicon can be cracked because of the increase in the temperature. Okay, that's only. But the most important is air turbulence that produce will harm to your product.
Okay.
Next. Banyak soalan.
Oh yes. Biosafety cabinet emits a foul odor when switched on and nobody else can detect it. Do you have any idea?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
The BSC emits a foul odor. Busuk-busuk bau.
Oh, okay. This is most probably I don't know, because sometimes I must see what's the smell. Sometimes some small animal like lizard died inside the cabinet. Sometimes pass through. I mean, not inside that plenum. Usually on top of it. And then sometimes the nature of work, the chemical that you use may cause this. If there is any faulty or any undoubt situation, please refer to your service engineer. That's important. If you find any smell, don't use the cabinet. So better refer them, let them check. They come and fumigate, and they see there's no leakage, make sure the cabinet is safe to use. So please do not use if you have any doubt about the cabinet. That's very important. Your safety is important.
Okay, next. What mean room for placement BAC need negative pressure and positive pressure airflow?
Sorry.
What I think it's about
room pressure, right?
What do you mean, God? For placement BSC need negative pressure and positive pressure airflow. Maybe you need to explain.
What mean room for placement BSC need negative pressure and positive pressure airflow? Okay. When come to laboratory, the right setup, laboratory always be a negative pressure. Okay, this is usually a relative negative pressure, which is slightly lower if level 2 level, biosafety level 2, slightly lower than the environment. Okay, relatively. Let's see, the environment or outside is a zero pressure. So the laboratory always be -5 or -10 or -15 is okay, but at least in the minus. So the cabinet and the lab usually does not have any relative pressure, but the cabinet must have the velocity is important. Okay, if the lab is -5, but relatively with the cabinet is 0 to 0, but to the outside world or outside the lab is of course 0 to -5. So cabinet to what you call lab is 0 to 0, but the velocity will regulate the pressure inside the cabinet, which is I say 70%, 30%, right? So that it should prevent air from leakage from the cabinet. Okay, that's important. Okay, why? Because we know the pressure always, the airflow always from the higher pressure to the lower pressure. If lab is already -5, if cabinet is 0, then air try to leak out of the cabinet. Okay, higher pressure. That's why the relative pressure between cabinet and lab is same, but the airflow will compensate this. Okay, this is very important. That's why I say don't block your grill, and then don't use flames. This cause turbulence, which may leak the air from the cabinet. Okay, that's very important. And practically for BSL2, -5 to 50. If BSL3 is different, BSL3 practically from -50 to minus even -100 pressure. But they call it what I forget about the measurement. Okay, then yes, that's a different. But still, cabinet inside the BSL3 is relatively same pressure, the lab and the cabinet. Okay, next.
If you don't have fume hood, the need to use fume hood because we handle chemicals like formaldehyde, xylene daily. Can we use the BSC with ducts instead of fume hood?
Okay, answer is no. Okay, for chemical work, fume hood. Do not use biosafety cabinet. Biosafety cabinet, the name itself is a biosafety only for microbiological work. Okay, you only can use chemicals that related or the work to be done with biological work, which is mandatory, which is very necessary to use. If for preparation of chemical or any other thing, do not use biological cabinet. So only use fume hood. You don't have fume hood, go and find another lab fume hood. Don't mix or prepare chemical, any other work in biosafety cabinet. Biosafety cabinet is only strictly for biological work. Okay.
Okay. The last two questions. Okay. Can we use mini centrifuge, and do you have any info on the UV length, UV wavelength used in BSc?
Okay, UV wavelength is, if I'm not mistaken, is 450. The frequency. Okay, another one they said is a use of
Mini centrifuge.
mini centrifuge. Okay, this also I already explained earlier. Try to not use any kind of centrifuge inside the cabinet. Okay, now they have the biological rotor. Try to put the cabinet outside and then take the whole rotor, put inside, and then you do your work. But if you can't avoid, you don't have a biological biohazard centrifuge, then okay to use, but be careful. Don't on or use for long duration. Short spin is okay, especially in fact centrifuge is not so bad, but practically they use a vortex mixture. This is very dangerous. Vortex mixture always cause vibration, and some people I've seen they just put the continuous mode, which is not recommended. So if you want to use vortex mixture, put intermittent mode. Whenever you put a sample, it will vibrate. After that, remove, it will stop. Not continuous. This continuous can cause vibration. As I say, vibration, the only problem with the vibration in the cabinet, any equipment that can cause vibration will cause the silicon surrounding the HEPA filter to crack. Once crack, start leak, and then you're not giving protection to the product and personnel. And also, if the exhaust HEPA filter silicon leak, and then will not give a protection to the environment.
And last question, how do we know our BSc is leaking?
Okay, that's why we need to do certification every year. Okay, through the certification, there are few tests they do during certification. Once they do the inflow velocity, downflow velocity, HEPA filter leak test, and smoke pattern test. These are 4 things that's mandatory. From inflow and downflow velocity, they will see how efficient is your HEPA filter. And then, especially for downflow velocity, they have certain points to test. Some cabinet come with a 24 points, some cabinet 36 points, some cabinet 18 points. So every point, they have to measure the velocity, and then they will calculate their what you call average. Once they got the average, they compare with the standard, or they compare with the manufacturer's recommendation. It should not exceed more than 20 or 25%, like NSF standard 25%, EN standard is 20%. If any point that exceed that set point, in fact, the cabinet, you can see that there's a data plate stick on the cabinet. It's written there what is the recommended or average velocity for inflow, downflow on that. So if it's exceed any point, or the average exceed this point, that shows that either HEPA filter is leaked or HEPA filter will be clogged. So that's the case, they need to do rectification. Either they try to adjust the damper if the flow is low. If the flow is high, they adjust the damper also for the exhaust and inflow, downflow HEPA filter. If all these are failed, or they suspect leakage during the HEPA filter leak test. HEPA filter leak test, usually they go every single surface of the HEPA filter. They go 100% filter. They go by using the photometer. They will check. Okay, 100% every single surface of the filter. If they found that there's any leakage, the alarm will trigger. Once the alarm is triggered, they found that there's a leakage, and they managed to find the leakage. They try to paste it, okay, with a silicone. If a small leakage, if big leakage, then they have to change the filter. That's why the certification by certified person is very important. But unfortunately, in Malaysia, in government sector, only have two. Myself and one is the UTM, and private sector maybe have another two. But at least we have companies that certify it, but make sure they do the right things. I've seen many people do the certification, but they do the wrong things. That's a very sad part. So in fact, I advise many people to do the right certification. Okay, right process. Some even they just everything is passed, but actually it's failed. It's very important. Okay, next.
Okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you, Mr. Selva, for the interesting topic. And thank you, everyone, for actively participating in this webinar. Don't forget to fill the feedback form for attendance and e-certification as attached in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you all. See you all next time.